Score is renting homes via Airbnb, and I got this pink tacky Broadway diva room. It works because I secretly like the music from Dreamgirls, but I'm not gonna sing. I was originally going to write an article about how the European and LPL top lane matchups are stylistic mirror matches in all three of the groups where we have a European and Chinese team. I think Huni and Zatai are aggressive style top laners. They like to split push in the 1-4, go for Baron plays sort of early, and sometimes they just like try to kill you and they go aggressively, and maybe they don't play from behind as well because they'll continue to start trying to play the same style repeatedly. So as an Acorn are both kind of jack of all trade tops who conform to whatever role their teams require. Until recently, So has played a lot more utility stuff, kind of like Acorn, but they both play a lot of Hecarim, both apparently described as strong team players in terms of communication and other things like that. The comparison between Otoamne and Cora1 was actually also a really good one between Evergaming and H2K. They both do really interesting teleport re-engages in teamfights. They deny themselves early so that bottom lane can get ahead. A lot of people like to draw comparisons between LGD and H2K, but if you look at just their solo lanes in isolation, there's actually a really, really strong point to be made for similarities between EDG and H2K. Evergaming revealed that, at least for the group stage, Cora1 will be playing AmazingJ will. Sancho also said it's for the entire tournament. Sancho changes his mind and he only gives half truths sometimes, and he tends to exaggerate a lot, so I'm not going to be extremely definitive in saying that Cora1's not playing. But obviously, if we have AmazingJ versus Otoamne confirmed for group stage anyway, then that the stylistic comparison between the Chinese top laners and the LPL top and the European LCS top laners no longer works. I'm going to instead talk a little bit about how AmazingJ changes Evergaming's dynamic, and just comparisons between who AmazingJ is and who Cora1 is. A while back I made a video about Evergaming's delicate dynamic and how subbing in AmazingJ and Bamey threatened that. AmazingJ and Energy Pacemaker got to be the star of his team, you know. He was pretty much the best player on the team. His jungler Drizzler, who makes a lot of dumb mistakes but was still mechanically really good. Like, more or less just camp AmazingJ's lane, get him huge leads so he could snowball and carry without the jungle pressure, since jungle pressure in Evergaming is often distributed to the bottom. AmazingJ has had a more difficult time on Evergaming. Like, he got soloed really, really hard by Insec pretty much every time those teams faced. And just be behind, and then he would have less of a late game impact that Cora1 would in teamfights. A lot of people will come out and say Cora1 is starting because the meta isn't starting because the meta suits AmazingJ more. I think it's more likely that Cora1 isn't starting because he's had off and on health problems all split. As he returns to EDG, like this summer, they actually prolonged their undefeated winning streak. They went undefeated in 21 games, like Fnatic, hey! He had a lot of clutch plays that boosted their team fighting in the late game, and in the semifinals and third place match, people said that, you know, but Clearlove played poorly, Cora played poorly, Def played poorly, Mako played poorly, whatever. But really what happened is they just didn't draft teamfight compositions consistently, or draft compositions that made sense, or draft winning lanes. And Cora1 actually was the only lane that won consistently in the third place match anyway, but then just when it came to teamfights, like, nothing seemed to sync up, and that was a huge compositional issue also. But yeah, okay, Cora played pretty poorly, Clearlove played pretty poorly, like, everyone played pretty poorly in those series. What happened was Coro in the regionals got sick again because he's had health problems off and on, as I mentioned already. So AmazingJ got to play in the regionals, and he did really well. But there's no why AmazingJ performed well has like a fairly simple answer. Def performed much better than he has because he was thrown off, I think, by some of the issues in the constantly changing dynamic. Both said he's sensitive to that kind of thing. They also draft him stronger laning champions. But a big thing was that Evergaming focused on global plays. They ran compositions with like Twisted Fate, Rek'Sai, Gangplank, and then in general they just extended pressure across the map. Instead of trying to force AmazingJ to 1v1, I think they made more TP calls, and so he would just take kills bottom to get a lead and then play top. Clearlove also did more top ganks, and of course I already mentioned Def played stronger laning champions. I still think AmazingJ creates a larger strain on Evergaming in map control than Cora1 did. I think Pawn will have to be forced to roam a lot more if they continue to play with AmazingJ. I think that running him will require a lot of roams snowball top and bottom at the same time, banning out globals against them will become actually a pretty lucrative strategy overall. People might try to draw a comparison between the Flame Acorn issue. Really, I think Flame and Acorn, there's no reason to play one over the other, honestly. And just in terms of stylistically how they play, because Flame has become much more utility oriented, Acorn has played a lot more carry champions, and since they've developed a lot in learning these opposing strategies, really it just comes down to what the team prefers. And since people say that Acorn has like a very team-centric attitude that works really well on LGD, because I think Godway and Emperor both kind of divas, so you want someone who's much more willing to take a step back, to sort of sacrifice his own gains, to play more towards the team, to work with them proactively. Now the same Flame doesn't do that, but apparently Acorn is just like described as this guy who will deny himself to in almost anything just to help you, just drop everything for himself sometimes. So I think that that kind of personality, that kind of player is something that they really value. Now similarly in the case of Cora 1 and AmazingJ, I think Cora 1 is more or less just better than AmazingJ, just because he's self-sufficient and he can play a bunch of stuff that AmazingJ can play. We've seen things like Olaf and Fiora in his solo queue games, and he played in the past like Aurelia's, Kassadin's, Hecarim's, so there's really not like a reason to suggest that he can't play a carry style. And AmazingJ has also played a lot of utility himself. I just think again it's a matter of the jungle pressure issue. The question becomes like if AmazingJ gets this lead, can he snowball harder than Cora? I think Cora has snowballed pretty hard in games where he's gotten massive leads. Sometimes he'll get like super overexcited and he'll just keep trying to get those leads. We saw that at MSI where he would go like really aggressive. So he has that kind of nature that AmazingJ does in some cases. It's just that AmazingJ I think is just more reliant on jungle pressure. So if he does get jungle pressure right, can he go further with that than Cora can? No, that's something just because Edward Gaming doesn't really snowball top, you know, that's not typically their strategy unless Cora has gotten snowball on their own. If we have a situation where AmazingJ playing carries and Cora 1 played tanks, like even if you could say 1-1, okay, AmazingJ only plays carries, so that's why he's playing. Cora 1 only plays tanks, and that's why he's not playing. Clearlove has been practicing a lot of Elise, and he played a lot of more carry-oriented picks like Lee Sin in spring. I think he'll probably play Lee Sin at this tournament. Compositionally, if you run like a Fiora Elise or something like that, it's not as good if you want a team fight, which Edward Gaming likes to team fight. And even if they don't have team fighting compositions, they try to team fight. So compositionally, you don't really want that kind of thing. You want a tank top anyway in this case, because Clearlove is probably going to run like the Elise stuff. So even if you could say, you know, Cora 1 tank player, AmazingJ carry player, you'd still probably want the tank player in this case. Anyway, I don't think there's any evidence to suggest that AmazingJ is better for the meta, quote unquote. I think it is probably down to Cora 1 hasn't been able to play as much because he's had off and on back problems, all split, and AmazingJ is more practiced, and he's been playing with the team. If you did want to make the argument that they're using AmazingJ for a stylistic reason, I think overall Edward Gaming's teamfighting, as we mentioned, has been a little bit strange, and if you aren't blaming the compositions that they're drafting, or not referencing their compositions they're drafting, you can say that, well, they seem to be not on the same page, so what you want to do is you just want to snowball really hard. So pick carry top, carry jungle, don't care about teamfighting, abandon teamfighting, which has been Edward Gaming's bread and butter for a really long time, and just try to snowball extremely hard. Strain the mid and jungle resources really hard, trying to get bottom and top both really far ahead and just kill them, which is a very risky strategy compared to what Edward Gaming has done in the past, and I'm not sure I like it, but maybe in that case there would be some reason to play AmazingJ instead of Cora 1, but again, maybe in scrims or something they found that AmazingJ is better at that style. So that's an interesting thing to talk about. I don't really like it, and I think if that's their approach, then they just lost a lot of their chance of winning Worlds. Anyway, I just wanted to give my thoughts on this topic of whether or not Cora 1 and AmazingJ were stylistically different, and if that was why Edward Gaming was playing with them. Again, I just want to stress, I think Cora 1's issue has more to do with having health problems. He'll be streaming for the duration of the tournament. If you like to watch Cora 1, you can watch him stream. during EDG's off time. Are both kind of jack of all trade tops who conform to whatever role their teams require. Until recently, Soaz has played a lot more utility stuff, kind of like Acorn, but they both play a lot of Hecarim, both apparently described as sort of early and just, I mean, sometimes they just like try to kill you and they go aggressively, and maybe they don't play from behind as well because they'll continue to start trying to play the same style repeatedly. So as an Acorn, strong team players in terms of communication and other things like that. The comparison between Odo Omne and Cora 1 was actually also a really good one between Evergreen and H2K. They both do really interesting top lane matchups, are stylistic mirror matches in all three of the groups where we have a European and Chinese team. I think Huni and Zatai are aggressive style top laners. They like to split push in the 1-4, go for Baron plays. Score is renting homes via Airbnb, and I got this pink tacky Broadway diva room. It works because I secretly like the music from Dreamgirls, but I'm not gonna sing. I was originally going to write an article about how the European and